Hello, everyone in Tiger Town. It is Thursday, October 3rd, 2024, and it is a glorious day in Detroit. It is a historic day in the Motor City. It is electric here in the Paris of the Midwest. I'm Jer Stays, by the way, if you don't know. Fletcher Sharpe, I am having trouble processing that this is real. You know, we did a special episode about the playoffs because we are so pumped about them. We talked about finding the hitting, and that's what they did with the 5-2 win over the Astros to sweep the wild card series and head to the Cleveland Guardians. The numbers were against us. You know, this is a stat that I saw widely shared. Their reliever, Josh Hader, makes $19 million a year. That's more than the entire starting lineup for the Tigers, plus some. And for the first time in nearly 90 years, the city of Detroit will host NFL and Major League playoffs in the same calendar year. This is giving me like City of Champions 1935 vibes. I am pumped. Fletcher Sharpe, is this magic?
Any other sport, I'd say, I don't know, whatever. Baseball is a really hard sport. And when a team that's struggled to hit all year is still kind of struggling to hit, but gets those hits later in the game when it matters as opposed to early on with nobody on, I'd consider that magic. That's a very magical thing they're doing. It'd be one thing if they went against the Astros and won like 15-0 and then like 14-2 or something. But no, it was 3-1, 5-2, grinded out games. 8th inning hits, Andy Ibanez, 3-run double type of stuff where you're like, all right, this could be something big. This could be, the beginning of something. And when you're hitting like that in baseball, at any point, like, it energizes your entire team. It's not like football where there's a touchdown. You're like, great. They ran 60, 70 yards. This is awesome. This is a hard sport. So when you get a hit and do something, it means so much more.
Yeah. I don't use magic as a negative word. I think some people think that the term is controversial, but I think in order to win any professional sport, there has to be at least something special, something unique sprinkled in. And to take this series, I mean, you and I were split on the decision on the preview. I don't look at magic as a bad word. Do you?
Oh, no, I didn't mean it in like a negative connotation. I just mean it in the sense
I just know that some people do. Some people think that we're trying to take the team down. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm not using magic in a negative way. It's just baseball is a very hard sport. Like, I'll use basketball as an example. If you are shooting 64% from the field, if you're like a center, they're like, whatever. If you're a guard, they're like, that's great. That's awesome. If you're shooting 64% from the free throw line, they're like, this guy is garbage. If you're hitting 39% from the free throw line, they're like, get this guy out of here. You hit 39% of the baseballs they throw at you, they're paying you $700 million every year. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. That's how hard this sport is. It's one of the few sports where like an average Joe goes in there, they're not getting hit off a 98-mile-per-hour pitch. And when you have a team who has not been hitting very great find their stride with all the pitchers, not just their ace and Scooble, but all their pitchers start to collectively pitch well, okay, there's something magical to that. It's kind of like, the little craze people used to flip bottles and they would land, right side up and people would go crazy and most times it wouldn't work. It's like flipping that bottle and it lands right side up 3 times in a row and you're like, oh man, I think I should go buy a lottery ticket right now.
For sure. What have the Tigers done right in these last couple of games? I think the timing of hitting is a huge part of it, but the team looks better and looks more confident. I hesitate to say kids, but these younger players have like stepped into a confidence where they actually believe in it themselves.
Save for Maeda, who's 36. Most of this roster, like I was looking through the list of ages before we came on, and I saw a lot of 24s and 25s and 26s. And while 26, technically you're definitely not a kid. You can like rent a car at that age. But it's younger. If that's like your first or second year in the pros, like I'll call you a kid. You're younger than me. I'm gonna call you a kid in that stance. But like it's a bunch of young players, and they said, hey, you know what? You mentioned how much Josh Hader makes versus the Tigers lineup. So we have a bunch of young kids on some prove me contracts. You want to show us that you're worth the big bucks? go show us. We make the playoffs, whatever. We get into the playoffs, you advance for sure. And now all of a sudden, they're not people you're going to sneak up on anymore. People are going to take them seriously because they know that they have to, because this team, we don't take them seriously. We're going to end up like the Houston Astros from the outside looking in, and no one wants to do that.
Yeah. So we've got a lake series coming up across Lake Erie between Detroit and Cleveland. The Guardians are a formidable team that, frankly, Cleveland's got their own kind of thing going on over there. What do we need to look out for against Cleveland? What do we need to do? One thing about this is going to be a best of 5 game series. So you got to win 3, which I'm a baseball traditionalist. Don't get me wrong. Like, I get it. Like, being a traditionalist means that we'd have even less playoffs, but neither here nor there. To me, like, I get the play-in series being shorter, but like the division series being, 3 wins. I mean, it's great for the Tigers. I think shorter series work in the Tigers' favor. What do you think, Fletcher Sharpe?
If they did this to save the players' legs, where it's like, we're having you play less games because there's a opening playoff round type of thing, then okay, I'm for that. But if it's not for that reason, which I don't think it was, I don't like it, because playoffs are supposed to be 7 game series. Like, yeah, for sure, the first round being best of 3, that's totally fine. But playoffs are supposed to be best of 7. So best of 5, I didn't even know that was an option. I don't like that option. But as you said, the Tigers have a better chance. You got to win 3 instead of 4.
It also means we're going to get some home games here at Comerica Park, which is super exciting. There's just so much to unpack with this one.
Yeah, I have friends in softball teams who are like, hey, I'm probably not going to be here next week. And it's like, why? It's like, I have a commitment at 4:30. And it's like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Got it. Yeah, you know what? Good luck.
There's going to be a big drop in productivity in offices across Metro Detroit.
I'll say this is going to be a very tight series. The Guardians won the season series 7-6 over the Tigers, but in runs scored, the Tigers scored 60, Cleveland scored 50. This is going to be a tight series. It's going to be whoever makes the least amount of mistakes is probably going to take this one. Jose Ramirez is just, he's a star. He's the best hitting third baseman, or one of the best hitting third basemen, or best hitting players in the league right now. If you get him on with people on base, the person on second is probably coming home if he makes correct contact. So you always got to be careful with him. Their pitching staff is pretty well as well. Lively is, I won't say he's their stud, but he's got some stuff for them as well. I'll say this, though. They did something that the Tigers didn't do. Cleveland's last 2 games of the season were both losses against Houston, so maybe that's a good thing right there.
Yeah, the bullpen's been solid. What I worry about going into this is pitching by committee a little bit. Like, there aren't really defined roles when it comes to the Tigers, and the Guardians have a really strong closer. If we want to look at like the technicals, and I don't know if the technicals matter in a situation like this, I do have a little bit of pause when it comes, like, they've been doing well, but I have a little bit of pause when it comes to that pitching situation.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. To me, honestly, I'm going to go the other way. I think them pitching by committee, say for Skubal, has been great because it allows pitchers who are not doing very well to find their place in a different spot. Like, Kente Maeda has been moved to the bullpen. Good. That's great. I don't want him out there starting, because if we leave him out there for 3 innings, he might have 1 or 2 good innings, and then he's going to give up 7 runs. If you put him out there as a rotation pitcher who's going to come pitch 1 or 2 innings, maybe we avoid that 7-run inning by putting someone else in there. I'm okay with that. If your stars want to go out there and stay, for sure. I know in modern baseball, you don't have pitchers as much staying in, like the old Verlanders, the old Randy Johnsons, who are like, I'm throwing 9 innings. I'll throw 135 pitches if I have to. I'm throwing 9 innings, though.
Oh, man, I remember those days. Those were epic.
The anxiety of Verlander going up, and you're like, that's great. You've thrown 97 pitches at the first of the 9th, and he's like, yeah, I'm finishing the inning. And it's like, great, he's throwing harder. He's also not hitting the strikes so nearly as much. And, like, you're going to throw one of those, and they're going to hit it, 400 feet the other way. In modern baseball, you see it a little bit less, but I like it. It allows pitchers who might be struggling to find their gap somewhere else. And if they are struggling, say they go in there, give up 2 or 3 runs, you can get them right out of there, and then you don't got to worry about it anymore. And if you need someone else, you can use pitchers like that in multiple days. You don't have to throw them for 6, 7, 8 innings, and all of a sudden, boom, now they're ineffective and have to wait a few days for their arm to cool down. You pitch 3 innings here, cool. You pitch 1 the following day, fine, whatever. You pitch 2, great. You can help us in bits and pieces, and I'm okay with that, especially because the results have been positive so far.
Well, it also does throw hitters off because you don't necessarily know who you're going to face inning to inning.
Exactly. Like, you might think, okay, I know Scooble's coming up. I know this person's coming up. I know that they have this and this, and next thing you know, you hear the announcement, coming up to pitch is such, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't know that much about this guy. Maybe now I have to shift gears a little bit and do something else instead. I appreciate doing stuff like that. I won't say it's a head game, but it kind of is a little bit. It makes people have to think on their toes a bit more. And the worst thing you can do for some players, professional athletes, is make them think for a few seconds longer, because the mind is such a fickle thing. If you think for a second too long, you might make a wrong decision. And next thing you know, you're walking back to the dugout, throwing your bat down in anger.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. We're going to be revisiting this topic, I'm sure, a few more times. I want to hear from people. dailydetroit@gmail.com. I am so pumped about the idea of playoff baseball. You know, I got to go to one of the series with the run the last time a decade ago. It's crazy to think. It's been a decade. This show didn't exist the last time the Tigers were in the playoffs. It's something we do not see very often. I'm just so excited about the electricity that's going to be in downtown Detroit. I know that with our episode with Devin O'Reilly, we're going to talk about some bars and some places to stop by for the game, because, you know, this is going to be something where people are either going to want to go to the game, they're going to want to be near the energy. There's a whole new feel to downtown Detroit right now. It's so great to see as a longtime city person. It feels so great to see the city shine like this.
Heck, they played both their playoff games away, and even going through downtown, like, during those days, like, it felt like they were playing near Comerica. Maybe you could tell because Comerica, the lights were off, or like maybe they were on at night just for effect, but it felt like they were there. I felt like the game was happening somewhere around you, and you could just see people being super excited, like, oh, are they playing? Are they on? I had a neighbor who's never spoken to me ever since I have moved in. I've lived where I've lived for about 4 years now. This person has never spoken to me. When the Tigers got up in game 1, he's like, they might actually do it. And I'm like, cool. Also, nice to meet you. It's like thing where people are so excited about this that, like, it's like that one guy at a game who, like, doesn't say much, but he starts giving out high fives. People are high fiving each other like, heck yeah, we can actually do this. And similar to with the Lions, I appreciate that because it helps the city kind of feel like the city of old. Like, I know people, I talk about times when the city had way more people in it and such. It was also around the time when, like, they had really decent sports teams. So, like, people were around doing things and being happy about it and such. So, like, we can't get all those people back in one fell swoop, but, you know, maybe we can get the people here happy about the fact that they have some sports teams who actually are producing on the field or on, you know, the diamond.
Well, one of the reasons why we talk about sports in the way that we do, Fletcher, is that honestly, when it comes to Metro Detroit, we've only got so many things that truly unite us between counties, frankly, unites large swaths of the entire state. I can't really speak for the section of the UP that are Packers fans, but it's one of the few things that unites us all. And I think that's so important as a region to have things we can really rally around. And I think that's part of what's been like deflating in the conversation is that sports is the thing in some ways that ties everyone together. And it's a beautiful thing.
I mean, one of the most loved Lions players, people who people love, Taylor Decker. Taylor Decker has Michigan fans and Michigan State fans rooting for him. He went to Ohio State. Like, that's not supposed to happen, but people are like, he's one of the best. And they, like, that shows you how deep sports is where it makes you forget about, like, century-old rivalries where you're like, hey, He went to a college I didn't like, but guess what? He's playing for my sports team, and I will ride for this guy forever. And like, it's the great unifier. It's the one thing where you might think a hot dog's a sandwich, you might not think it's a sandwich. However you feel, hey man, Tigers are in the playoffs. We'll forget the sandwich talk till later. Let's just go have a few and go support the team. I always appreciate that. And seeing when the teams do well and seeing people who don't know each other hugging and high-fiving like, oh my God, did you see that play? It makes you smile. Even like the Grinch's heart would like grow seeing that.
Well, Fletcher Sharpe, it was great to talk to you. We're going to get back at it again. It is a great time in the Motor City. Thank you for spending some time on this Thursday. Extra duty for you. And I know we'll be watching it. As I said, if people have got questions or feedback, dailydetroit@gmail.com. This is a great time in Detroit, a great time in Southeast Michigan, and a great time for Tigers fans wherever they are. With that, I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharpe.
Remember that you are somebody. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our members on Patreon, patreon.com/dailydetroit. Your support helps keep making this show possible. And we will talk tomorrow.